Hey, welcome back, guys. All right, it's Kate with Kate's Regretless Life, and let's go ahead and jump on into a signs and symbols storyline today. Let's see what we've got here. I like to get a couple cards out for starters, and then we'll see where it takes us. Whoops. Yeah. Okay, so we have fire, which is the heart. We have the Four of Earth. We have the Three of Earth sideways, and now we just ended up with the Ace of Air, the Four of Fire, and Theology. So right out of the gate, my first impression is somebody's heart is obviously like on fire. We've got a ring of fire surrounding the heart. We've got a heart with wings on it. This starts out really nice, right? But we have suppression. Something that somebody wants, they're trying to say, no, I probably shouldn't do this. It's too big of a risk. It's too big of a gamble. But I want it. But I shouldn't. But I want it. I want it a lot, but I shouldn't. We have this person who's trying to talk themselves, I think, into allowing themselves to have what their heart wants, but they are just as swiftly trying to talk themselves back out of it. What is great here is that we actually have our character maybe in trying to, like, they may actually have to make a list of the reasons, like pros and cons with that Ace of Air, because they're finding truth in, okay, even if I think I shouldn't do this, but my heart won't let it go. It feels like somebody would have to make some pretty big changes in their life in order for this to happen, right? You see how contemplative he is. You see that he's stepping back. He's saying, this would change my life if I do this. I would have to go and live in a different city. I would have to alter everything about where I'm at. By the way, somebody could be playing Monopoly. This looks like Monopoly board pieces. Even him being made out of like chrome, it just reminds me very much of Monopoly. And it could be, everything would change. If I were to follow my heart, it would take me to a different city, to a different town. I feel like somebody would possibly be moving out of a major city. And he's contemplating, if I moved out of a major city to follow my heart, would I find work? Would I find a way to, survive? Because money is a major factor for this character, right? That Four of Earth, all of those Four of Pentacles in any other deck, we see he may work in like some kind of an industry where, he's obviously in like in a suit and, say a white collar career path or something where he wears a suit or wears, I don't know, it just looks like somebody who's in like professional clothing. And he feels like this is a bit of a gamble, but I think everything's a gamble anyway. And the reason I say that is because if you look closely, I'll say the table that he's got his pentacles on, we actually have all the clubs and hearts and diamonds that we would see in playing cards. So I feel like these aren't poker chips, but I feel like he's realizing in life everything's a gamble anyway. I could not follow my heart, but honestly, I don't know that I'm going to make out better if I stay in the big city, if I keep the big job. I don't really know. Will that somehow be a better life choice? It still feels like everything in life is a risk. There's no guarantees on anything. So why don't I do what my heart is guiding me to do? And not just guiding me. I mean, his heart is like, we've even got like, all systems go. I really think he's on the cusp of just saying, I think I'm ready to just do this brave thing. But we shift over before he takes, sudden action. He's listening to his heart first and he's arguing like logically why this isn't a good idea. Then he's coming right back to, but I want to do this. My gut instinct wants to do this. My heart wants to do this. Okay, let me go back into my logical mind and let me see if I can justify my actions. And as he either writes down the list of pros and cons, and by the way, this could be a feminine. We've seen a masculine here, so that's why I'm going to say him throughout this. But as he sits down and he writes out, the list of what he would want to do, why he might want to do it, he's getting clarity, and him writing something then becomes like script. It becomes a text. It becomes a love letter. This is the Four of Wands. This is the life we really want. I actually feel like this is him taking off the gloves. I feel like he needs some liquid courage. I feel like what he starts writing in the daytime to figure out his list of pros and cons becomes a raw truth that he can't deny. And then I feel like by nighttime, he's having a couple of drinkies and he's possibly typing out his resignation letter, but he's also typing out a love letter. He's about to make a really big choice in his life. And we get down to that theology card and we realize that this is a spiritual choice. It's not even just his heart. It's not just his instinct, and it's not just his logic. You put all that together, and what he's realizing is, this is right for me because this is truly like a spiritual decision. Again, it has to do with moving. We see the world twice, and actually this is more like the celestial globe that we see instead of the globe. So I'm going to say that it's almost like he feels like this is somehow written in the stars. Like I feel like there's too many serendipitous things that are coming into perfect alignment, even though technically it's a perfect misalignment, but it's actually aligning perfectly for him to be able to maybe even like hear his heart's choice, hear his instinct's choice, hear his mind's choice, and then realizing this is maybe the work of his spirit guides helping him out, saying, you know, you have to do what you have to do. You know that this is written in the stars for you. You know that this is the timing on all of this, all these serendipitous things. I feel like there's something shaky in his world that is giving him permission to justify making this massive leap forward. I almost feel like if his career path were too perfectly laid out right now, he probably wouldn't give himself permission to make a change like this. But because he can't really argue, you know, purely on the side of logic that, well, this would be a foolish risk because, you know, it would compromise my, you know, something about my career path, my money, you know, I can't make a foolish decision because it wouldn't be responsible. I feel like he can't argue that anymore because wherever he's at financially is risky too. We have an Eight of Pentacles. That Eight of Pentacles is showing somebody who's working very hard at getting the right answer in this case. And we have like little clovers and we have little roses, and we see him very tatted up, again with floral tats all over his arms, and we see him kind of like mixing up a little, I don't know, it's like a little bowl of fruit and yogurt or what, but he's deep in thought. I almost feel like food is an afterthought, but with all of these, you know, clover is oftentimes, it's not just like the lucky 4-leaf clover, but we're seeing the clover flower, which specifically goes along with lovers at a distance, kind of, it's a romantic thinking of a lover at a distance kind of energy that goes along with clover flowers. And with that Eight of Pentacles being here, I really think he's realizing it's time to work on something else in his life. Tell me about that Four of Earth. By the way, this person could be clean shaven, although I think even though they come across as looking quite young right now, they've got a lot of lines on their forehead, which tells me they're older. They may stay very clean shaven, but in fact they could grow out quite a luscious beard, or I feel like this is somebody who's like 40 or 50. I don't feel like they're that young. But everything about them is blossoming right now. Even those tattoos aren't really tattoos as much as they are just like rising and emanating off of his arms. This person could wear a suit and tie, as we already said, but now we see him again in, you know, a button-up shirt with a tie, but then he's got on overalls. And to me that depicts he's already thinking about himself living a different life. I definitely feel like this would be somebody leaving a big city job and maybe changing his whole career and changing his entire life. Maybe he always dreamed of like living a simpler life in the country, but he never would have permitted himself to step away from a career path. We got a King of Cups in the reverse. He never would have let himself step away from a career path that was, you know, financially solvent, so that he could go live a, you know, maybe a, look, life in the country is not some easy walk in the park. So I'm not saying that it would be like, oh, he'd live an easier life in the country. In fact, farming is incredibly hard, you know, living out in the country. Like, yes, I think there's a peace and a calm about country lifestyle, but having lived in both lifestyles myself, I can definitely say the country life is a hard work. It's a lot of work. But the city is intense in a whole different way. So I just feel like he's thinking about changing everything in his life and what that would mean. And I think what he's realizing is what he's doing right now that he has no love for. There's no emotional attachment to what he's doing at all. His heart is attached to the idea of leaving. His heart is attached to giving that resignation letter, sending a love letter. Let's ask what that is. What is it that you want to do with that Four of Fire, that Four of Wands? You know who your person is, or you know what lifestyle you want. Seven of Cups is sideways. Again, it is more about like, I'd like to go to the country. I don't know how it would work because I haven't done this before. I don't really know what is going to come of this action that I would be taking. This is where his knowledge and power over outcomes stops, meaning he knows what his heart wants. He knows that there's really nothing keeping him where he is. What the career path he's been on is kind of wishy-washy at this point anyway. He has no love for it. What he'd like to do is the thing his heart has wanted to do for a long time, and right now it feels like, why don't I just do it? Well, I have no idea what will come of it. I have no idea what will happen if I send this letter. What is this letter? Can we see any more of that? Because if he chooses to write this letter, and like I said, I was looking at it like two things, like a resignation letter as well as like a love letter or something really important. We have the Emperor sideways. It's definitely a letter about, an offer of, this is what I'd like, but I have to be accepted. I can't shove my way in and be like, here I am, everybody step aside, the Emperor's, landed. So if this is a love letter to offer a commitment to someone, he doesn't have the power to make that commitment happen. He has to wait breathlessly to find out if he'll be accepted. If this is about him moving, coming home, again, here he is older and with a beard. I keep feeling like he's older. He still thinks of things kind of with a youthful energy. I feel like his life has been very chaotic, very busy. I feel like whatever he did in a city, whatever his career path has been, he's been all over the place, and it's been, on one hand, running him ragged, and on the other hand, it's been something where he's been able to pretend that he wasn't like aging. I feel like we just got recently a message about like a divine masculine that was aging. I mean, we have it here on these cards. We don't even have any feminines. This is all the story of a masculine. So I got to go with what we have on the cards. We can see the reality of it is this would be him choosing, like, this would be his forever place. If he's going to move to the country, if he's going to send a letter to somebody and ask, can I be your emperor? Can I do this? I mean, maybe he wants to send a letter and ask, can he come back home to the family farm, or, something like that. Two of Swords in the reverse. We finally get a feminine, and he's hoping that this letter would, first off, reach her eyes, that she would be willing to read this letter, and that she would be willing to consider this. There is an element for her, it feels like it would arrive in the early morning dawn, this letter. Like, barely she opens her eyes and she sees I'm going to say it's an email, most likely, is what I would suggest. Seven of Wands in the reverse. It's all about, like, opening up a line of communication. And it is like she would open her eyes, and here he is standing there in the middle of her thoughts all of a sudden. Look, I don't know that she'll want to talk to him, but that's exactly what he'd be asking for. Can we talk? It's obviously him opening up a dialogue all of a sudden. So I'm thinking that in the past he was not willing to consider this. He was not willing to back down from, I'll say, a money pathway, a career pathway. I think he stayed in something because it made sense and he could squash what his heart wanted for a long time. And those were his blockages. And now that doesn't matter anymore. Those blockages have been lifted. So what the heck am I doing? I don't even want to be where I've been. Let me authentically admit to myself who I'd like to be is an emperor to somebody that I haven't talked to in a really long time. And it's a spiritual connection. Can I get one card on the theology? We have a Three of Cups in the reverse. If this is more about spiritual belief systems, for a long time he chose not to believe in it. He pushed it away. I know it's a 3 of cups, but you notice how there's actually only 2 cups here. She may wear glasses. She also could be somebody who works like as a bartender. She got some snazzy earrings on here too. Like teal could be a great color on her, but she's also in some pretty bright, pink. This feels like, if I'm trying to clarify the spiritual belief that he actually does have, it is that he knows that this was written in the stars, but he decided to ignore it for a really long time. A really, really, really long time. And I know it's a 3 of cups, but I'm reading it more like a 2 of cups. He decided to tell himself that a perfect match doesn't exist. There's no way. There's no way. Yet why does his mind turn to her immediately when he's realizing, I'm all washed up. I'm all done with this weird, rat race that I've been living for money that is just as risky as any other thing in my life. It's like he's realizing in some ways this supposedly like sensible choice that he's made in his life that had nothing to do with a heart-based decision has not yielded any of the real life that he'd like to have, and he's just now becoming aware of it. Do we have one, let's go back to the original deck, do we have one card that is going to help me to understand why is it that he's just now becoming aware of this? What is it in him really that's changing? Water, huge amount of emotions. Emotions are being brought to the forefront. We have the SS Washington, New York. I hate to say it this way though also, but this is like, one of the, what do you call them, the lifesavers, not the candy, but the ones that we toss out into the sea so somebody can, stay afloat. And I have to say, if he's having some kind of change in his life, it's as if the emotions that he has, he's almost drowning in. There's an element of things just got way more real. Certain things that used to, be so important that he had to, hold on to, nickels, pennies, money, it just doesn't hit the same anymore. What matters more now is his emotions. And I really feel like he's being overwhelmed by emotions. I think he's drowning in them. And it has much to do with that heart. Let me get one more card on the heart card. So, by the way, seeing like maybe the lifesaver candy or maybe the, a flotation device is going to be a sign or a symbol. Also, seeing turtles, like I'm thinking not real turtles, but like a turtle figurine or something. God, we have the 10 of Pentacles for that heart card. There's definitely an element of him thinking, what is going to be like the real meaning of my life? Is it going to be that I saved up money to buy nice knickknacks? Or is the sum of my life going to be the relationships that I actually, chose to be connected to? He cares more now about people than he does about money. And I think he finally has less fear around money and more belief that what matters more than anything, especially our connections to people always matter more than money, always. But I don't know that was true for him until now. It may have to do with his age, it may have to do with his maturation, it may have to do with the fact that something about his finances still feel like, I don't even know, I have no interest in this. It's as risky as anything. Relationships are a better, more stable investment. Love is a more stable investment if you're choosing to listen to your heart and give your heart to someone. I do feel like he tried to say that he didn't believe in spiritual bonds, but he obviously does, because he knows exactly who he wants to talk to. Immediately he knows exactly who he wants to talk to. It's her. It's the dark-haired woman. Wine glasses with like a rosé or some pink or red colored wine in it could be a symbol. Like I said, she may wear glasses. She may receive this message from him early in the morning as she first wakes up. I feel like he himself is going to notice gray hairs on the day that he sends this letter. And it's going to be a confirmation for him that something's changed inside of him. That he is like, he's got to do things that matter more now. He's all grown up. This is a person who we're watching him go through a change in his own life, a change in his thought processes, a shift in who he sees himself as. I really think he played a role, this clean-cut role, most of his life. He's always so slicked back, right? And still like clinging to youth for a really long time. The youth that he needs to be able to be a mover shaker in whatever career path he had, whatever, like I do feel like he spent a lot of his life feeling like chasing the buck was power, and he was playing the power game. And now I think he's realizing there's more power in romance, relationship, connections, and actually doing what your heart wants. That's what makes an emperor, not how much money you've got. All right, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. If you guys did not already know this, you can find my other Zodiacs videos. I'll be doing a lot of those this weekend. You'll find them under the playlist tab, and that'll help you navigate to whatever Zodiac you might be seeking. I do all 13, including ophiuchus. I also do singles, storylines, and today's topics or daily messages. So anyway, you can check those out. You can also look under the live tab because I tend to live stream a lot of my content.